today we're going to be going over what Epic Gobbleygourd is going to look like and everything that you can expect from Epic Gobbleygourd when it comes in Feast-Ember this year. We have our first teaser on the loading screen, so let's head on over to it. On the loading screen, we have a huge amount of playground content here. We have playground costumes, decorations, you name it, everything playground is on the loading screen. By far the funniest thing is Panko flying up in the air and meeting the Firehaven critter, and Flower peeking over, and Pom Pom. Oh, it's wonderful. And then we have Mammoth holding up Furcorn to the side, and tons of playground costumes. However, most interestingly of all, if we look where Gobbleygourd is looking, and then look where Rare Gobbleygourd is looking, as they are perking down below, we in fact get a look at Epic Gobbleygourd. We can see here 3 tails poking out, and if we look at the structure of this thing that is poking out, it does look like this is the head of Epic Gobbleygourd. So here we have 3 tails poking up from Epic Gobbleygourd's head. It's got a lovely blue tint to it, and I must say it reminds me of a peacock. Now I know it's going to be like a chicken again, as obviously it's celebrating Feast-Ember and Thanksgiving, but I've got to put it in there. It just looks like a peacock. It's blue, and I don't know, there's some kind of vibe to it. It just looks like a peacock to me. And then if we head on over to the trailer, we in fact have got another look at Epic Gobbleygourd right to the end of the trailer, when Gobbleygourd is just going crazy everywhere and everyone's sounding like Gobbleygourd and going crazy. Epic Gobbleygourd falls from the sky in a similar fashion to how Gobbleygourd was revealed, and we see blue feathers coming up to the surface. Now this confirms that the head is in fact the head on the loading screen, as here we see feathers that are immensely similar to the feathers that we see poking out from Rare and normal Gobbleygourd. So just because of that now, that confirms that these are in fact the tail feathers, and the head is in fact the head on the loading screen. So I do want to point that out, as I don't want anyone getting confused, because it does look like a tail, you got to admit, on the loading screen too. As for what Epic Gobbleygourd is going to look like from this, I'm honestly expecting a more peacock take on it. Gobbleygourd is absolutely wild. I think they're going to definitely incorporate some crazy elements into Epic Gobbleygourd. We saw with all the epics just capturing that personality some more of the monsters for the seasonals. We've seen so many trailers and things. By that point, when the epics released, it felt like almost these epics were encapsulating the event even more so, and I feel like Epic Gobbleygourd is going to do that even further, especially now that we have the animations too that are going to be brand new for Epic Gobbleygourd. We're going to have new animations across Firehaven, Fire Oasis, and the seasonal shanty. Now, just looking at the animations that we got on the seasonal shanty for Gobbleygourd and Rare Gobbleygourd, I have my hopes so high for these. Epic Gobbleygourd, I have no doubt, will capture Gobbleygourd's personality even more so, not just through its design, but through its animations too, as it's going to have new ones across all those islands. Now, with this epic, I really want them to capture, just like on the seasonal shanty, when we saw them being so quirky, Gobbleygourd, that kind of craziness to Gobbleygourd. I feel like that's a really important part of Gobbleygourd as a monster, because that was the way that they were revealed, and they're just so crazy in comparison to every single monster. So capturing that some more in the animations, I think, will be wonderful. I'm really curious to see what they do with the animations. I'm not so sure what they're going to do. I've seen lots of people confused by the fact that there's tons of sounds going off in the Firehaven trailer. People don't seem to be getting that everyone's imitating Gobbleygourd towards the end, and they're going, it's going to have a new sound. I don't think it's going to have a new sound, guys. I don't know how that would smooth its way into the song, and I don't think it would quite work out. So I don't think that's the case, especially seeing as though all as Epic seasonals do just have new animations, which of course is wonderful, as we don't get that with any other kind of variant. So getting that is a plus. For the release of Epic Gobbleygourd, I expect, to be honest, it to follow suit with Rare Gobbleygourd. Rare Gobbleygourd's release was absolutely crazy. It released towards the start of the year out of nowhere. No one was expecting Rare Gobbleygourd so early on out of Feast-Ember. It was such a weird thing to happen. So honestly, I'm expecting the same thing to happen here. Now, we know that Feast-Ember ends next week on Wednesday, which is very soon. I'm expecting Epic Gobbleygourd to just come out of nowhere at the very end of the event and be like, I'm here now for a week, because honestly, that seems like something that Epic Gobbleygourd and just the Gobbleygourd family is gonna do. I've got my theories set on that one over there, as I think that's just the best way to do any Gobbleygourd release, to be honest. Do it out of nowhere. Honestly, just the same as Gobbleygourd when that initially released too. It definitely will have to be over the next week regardless though, as the event is going to be ending, and I'm just going by previous years. It could certainly run for another week beyond next week, but I think that's very doubtful, as we've seen Feast-Ember only last 2 weeks in the past, over the past 2 years that we've had it. So therefore, I do predict that that will be the case, that we'll see it in fact at the very end of the event, which is going to be very, very weird indeed. I'm quite interested to see what foods are stacked on Epic Gobbleygourd. I think that's going to be a very interesting combination. We've got blues going on, so I honestly don't know what they're going to match with that. Maybe some oranges, but that's very similar to Gobbleygourd itself, so that makes me think that it's not going to be that. Honestly, who knows? Maybe Epic Gobbleygourd has a whole kind of food batch itself and doesn't really notice all of the Thanksgiving stuff going on. That would make up to be some cola there, so maybe that will be the case. That would be certainly something for Gobbleygourd's personality too, wouldn't it? For the breeding combination of Epic Gobbleygourd, it's going to have a unique breeding combination, as always, across all the islands. Now, it's likely to be Tring and Snizer, the breeding combinations on the Fire Islands, and then I would expect double elementals to be present inside of those combinations too. I've seen lots of predictions going around that it could be Growl, so it definitely could be Growl. And then for the Shanty, honestly, who knows what that combination is gonna be. It looks really, really crazy. Epic Gobbleygourd, those feathers on its head, just, I love them so much. I think it's gonna be really great, this epic monster, as always with all the epic seasonals. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it's really weird we've not seen it as of yet, but I'm kind of happy about that fact, as I've been able to make a video on it. And also, guys, where on earth has been the content? It feels like I've not made a video in so long. But you know what, guys? I'm sure things will perk up soon, seeing as our Playgrounds is released now, and they can get back into the swing of things with our updates. As honestly, we've had nothing at all over the past 2 months, really. So I'm very excited to see what's going to come after Epic Gobbleygourd and getting Epic Gobbleygourd and beyond. Let me know what you think Epic Gobbleygourd is going to look like in the comments down below. Is it going to look like a peacock? I think it might do, but honestly, I'm not really sure. Maybe it's just going to take a bluish form on. That probably would be quite a likely scenario. Regardless, get ready, guys, as we have a new animation and everything on the way. Finally, some My Singing Monsters content, lo and behold. But for now, guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like down below and make sure to subscribe too, guys. Bye!